Since the introduction of our underquilts, we've been getting a lot of requests on how to properly hang them underneath your hammock. In this video, we're going to go over how to hang them and how to make sure that they're going to give you the most warmth. So the first step is to take the underquilt out of its compression sack and lay it in the hammock, and that'll keep it out of the dirt while you're hanging it up. After that, what you're going to do is you're going to take these 1/8 inch shock cords with channel locks on them, and we're going to be using that to hang it up. In a few months, these will be available with all of our bags. For right now, we're actually going to be selling them separate, but we are getting them included in the next production. But all you're going to do is you're going to take the channel lock and put it onto the shock cord. Then you're going to thread it through the corner of your underquilt and come right back through that channel lock, just like that. You're going to pull it out through a little bit. For this one, we're going to go ahead and thread it through the carabiner and come to the opposite side. Now, you don't want to thread it over the top, otherwise when you hang it, it'll put a loop on this. So you're coming through this side, back down and around the underquilt to this corner here. You've got your channel lock on there, and you go ahead, slide it through this corner webbing and back through your channel lock. What this allows you to do is quickly adjust the tension of your underquilt to get it to fit perfectly. Now we're going to go and repeat the same thing on that side of the bag. One thing to note when you do this is that you do not have to have a carabiner to make this work. A lot of systems will have webbing straps coming down with loops. With a daisy chain loop, you can thread it through there. Or on this one, if you wanted, you could even thread it through this loop right here on the am steel. But again, we're just going to go ahead and use these carabiners because they are available for us. You can see this underquilt's about ready to be hung up. I always recommend you just kind of give these a little bit more pull to make sure that it's not going to hit the dirt when you dump it out of the hammock here. So we've got all the shock cords on. We're going to go ahead and pull it out of the hammock and let it hang down here. So now you can see that it is hanging. It's obviously hanging a little bit low. So we're going to go ahead and tighten that up a bit. But the first thing you'll notice is that because this is a sleeping bag and an underquilt, it's got this big gap right here. What we did is we put double drawstrings on this. Now, if you have a typical underquilt, it's going to have these drawstrings as well. All you're going to do is take these drawstrings and tighten them up so that you're going to have less of an air gap right there when you're laying in it. And then we'll do the same thing on this other side. This side on our bag does have a zipper, and so it takes a little bit more working, but you can get it nice and tight up against that hammock as well. You just gotta go ahead and nurse that zipper up and along it. If you were going to hang this as a pod or a pea pod, you would actually be running it through that zipper, but I'll show that to you on another video, so look for that link in the description. Okay, so now we've got both ends gathered up to the bag with the drawstrings. We've got it hanging here. The next step is to get the sag right. The reason the sag's important is if you do have excess space between the bottom of your hammock and where that underquilt is, it's an area where cold air can get in and circulate. What you want is to have the hammock touching on your hand and the underquilt touching on the bottom of your hand. So the easiest way to test that is to put your hand right down here inside of just the hammock, and then you're going to take your other hand and slide it underneath the hammock. And on this one, I have a couple inches of gap right now, so we're going to need to tighten this up to eliminate that gap and make it a little bit warmer for you. So the easiest way to do that is to come over here to your shock cord and your channel locks. Hold the channel lock off of right here. If it gets down on this, it makes it really hard to pull. So hold it, an inch off of that, and then go ahead and pull it tight. And you can do that on both sides. That gives us, that's pulling the underquilt higher. And again, we've still got a little bit of a gap, So I'll come to this end and repeat the same process. Okay, so now when I put that in there, I can feel the underquilt on both the bottom of my hand, and I can feel the hammock on the top. So one thing to note here that I just wanted to explain is you could do this with paracord, but we don't recommend it. And the reason why is if this was paracord, there'd be no stretch. And when you get in the hammock, it sags. I don't know if you can see how much that's starting to sag, but it's gonna sag, and this won't sag with it. So what it does is it pulls these corners really tight, and when it pulls those corners tight, it actually will stretch the fabric and take the loft out of the bag. It'll cause it to smash underneath you. So by using shock cord, especially 1/8 inch shock cord, it's loose enough that when you get in it and it starts to sag, the shock cord can expand with you and make sure that you're not taking excess loft out of your underquilt. Another thing to note on our underquilts is if you have something like a Hennessy hammock where it's got a side tie out, you can actually use these webbings right here to put that side tie out through and make that underquilt fit you a little bit better. These are all here just to help you customize that underquilt and get a better fit. Your underquilt is now installed and you're ready for a warm, enjoyable night in your hammock.